banned from combat.
Okay.
They're banned from combat jobs and from being assigned to combat units at certain levels. But as you pointed out, over 140 women have died in combat, so clearly they're in combat.
We were able to go out there and test ourselves, improve ourselves, and now we need to catch up the policies to reflect what we've already done.
If you're not actually assigned to infantry, to armored vehicles, to if you're not actually special forces, your promotion rate is restricted.
Welcome back, everyone. Women, they've been serving and dying in war zones for years now, but only now is policy potentially catching up with reality. Last week, the military opened up thousands of new jobs to women, jobs that are closer to combat. But there's a new bill being spearheaded in the Senate by New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand that would go even further. It would allow women to risk their lives and die on the front lines just like their male counterparts. Now, the measure, it's called the Gender Equality in Combat Act, and it would encourage the Pentagon to lift all restrictions on women in combat. Advocates for the women in armed forces argue that women, in effect, are already seeing combat just without the recognition. 144 women have died in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and more than 800 have been injured. Well, joining us on the panel tonight to sound off on the issue, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Rosen. He recently completed a tour in Afghanistan where he served in the headquarters of General Petraeus, and he's also an assistant professor at West Point. Welcome. How do you feel about this?
I have some particular and unique insight in this. I was involved in helping operationalize the building of female engagement teams in Afghanistan. So I have intimate knowledge in this, and we absolutely should expand opportunities for women in the military, but we should do it thoughtfully where it makes sense. There's no doubt that there remains physical differences. There is no doubt that there are unit cohesion things that matter, and we should think about that and not do this willy-nilly.
Are there male soldiers that have physical limitations that would restrict them from serving on the front lines?
Absolutely.
So why would that be different from women if they should have individual physical limitations?
On its head, I agree with you in principle. But the issue is that if you're going to carry a 70-pound rucksack in full combat gear and you're infantrymen and you're moving through in a platoon of, say, 40 some odd people, there's a unique cohesion around that, and there's a unique endurance requirement and stamina requirement and strength requirement, and we should not go willy-nilly into that.
Do we have precedent in that one of our allies, Israel, they have a fully integrated military force, and women serve on the front lines there, and it's interesting, and get ready for tonight's show, they may have done it out of necessity. They needed people in the beginning, but they found that from a cohesion standpoint, and also, I mean, half their officers are women in the Israeli military, and they can handle it. We have issues also with cuts and everything else. I don't have to tell you, the military would like more boots on the ground. Do you think we're going to see a day in the not-too-distant future, regardless of how this bill moves forward in Congress, that women will be doing everything that men do in recognized roles?
You know, again, in principle, I agree with the idea of expanding the franchise and getting women into all the positions that they can be successful in and support our national security strategy. I think we just do it thoughtfully. And
you teach at West Point, and as you know better than I do, at the Point, you have to. There's academic rigors you have to pass, but also there's physical tests. Sure. You can't make it through if you can't, in fact, carry your weight here. Any graduate coming out of the Point, would you feel hesitation that that female grad could handle the rigors of what you saw on the front lines in Afghanistan?
Well, and a lot of people don't realize there are two separate standards for the Army physical fitness test. I'm obviously an Army person, so I can relate to the APFT, but the other services have that. There are two different standards because there are two different career tracks. All right, so a woman does not need to do as many push-ups as a man to pass the APFT. Now, we can look at changing that and going to one standard potentially for combat arms.
Dominic, how would the public feel if they see a body bag coming back with a young woman who died on the front lines? Do you think America's ready for that?
I do not think America is ready to see those images. But at the same time, I mean, we have fire departments all across America, and those are rigorous demands physically, and women meet those demands. It is time that women should have the same opportunities. The time has come, I mean, they should have every opportunity that men have in the military.
If the only reason we're not doing this is to avoid squeamishness in a worst-case scenario, that's not enough of a reason in my book.
Well, you notice I didn't comment at all about how the American public, I think the American public would respond the same as a man dying in battle. My view. I could be completely wrong.
I think it would be double what it is for a man.
But there are huge practical issues. Unit cohesion, anyone who's been on a male football team or a male soccer team or a female soccer team or whatever, there's unique cohesion.
But didn't we hear that with
unique
same-sex?
cohesion.
Did we hear that with Donald Trump?
I don't equate and never will the homosexual issue with the gender issue. The gender issues, there are differences in sexuality and physical prowess.
Where if maybe I asked you 10 years ago, you would have seen the light, you would have said, you know, I believe in my lifetime I'll see gays serving openly in the military. Do you believe in your lifetime you're going to see women serving side by side on the front lines?
Honestly, I'm seeing it already. Yeah. And, you know, they may not be, quote, infantry, but they're out there, they're serving, they're carrying weapons, they're firing at the enemy.
All right. Good enough. And on that note here, thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Rosen.